Yo, 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 what's happening? Welcome to the Hotspur Hood. Where's Gareth gone? Here he is. Was that jolting a little bit for you there? Was that jolting a little bit?
No.
No, the intro. Oh, all right. It just jolted for me.
It just dropped at the end.
The drop, mate. The drop. Yeah. Hello. Welcome back to the Hotspur Hood. It's Sunday. N17 effect. Unfortunately, we didn't have much of an effect on Leicester yesterday. Well, starting off, we were all right, 1-0, but it went downhill fast, very, very fast indeed. I've got a dream team with me. They were dreaming of better things, that's for sure. So to discuss all things Spurs. So, Mark, how you getting on, my friend?
Yeah, only just recovered this afternoon from that horrible defeat, but otherwise not too bad. All good.
Gareth, you're on the booze.
Drove me to drink, mate. I told you off air it was the kids, but Spurs have played their part. That was absolutely fucking atrocious. Especially after City, you go against Leicester and you're expecting big things. You're expecting just to front up again. I even sent out a tongue-in-cheek tweet saying get Stellini back at the helm. Because you look at the football that he played against City, and then Conte comes back. Don't get me wrong, this isn't a Conte out rant, but you look at the football we ended up playing against fucking Leicester. With the players we got, with the way we subdued City, we should have put those pricks to fucking bed.
I've got a one-answer question before we fully get going. I've got a one-answer question, and it involves the management. Jacob, how you keeping?
Yeah, all good, mate. Yeah. With the result yesterday, I'll be honest, a lot of the time I found myself laughing just because we've come to expect that, especially this season, not just the Spursy effect. It's like, I'll get to the point now where when we play teams, I'm like, if they show us respect, we'll probably win. But if they show us a lack of respect, we'll get battered. And the last two results have shown that, because if Man City played balls over the top against us, I guarantee you we would have lost 5-1, because Haaland made about 25 runs that if they did the Danny Drinkwater to Vardy thing, he'd have been found so many times. And then in this game, Leicester did everything that you should do: press Tottenham, pass it quickly, and get at their defence. And whatever combination of defence we had yesterday without Romero, it didn't matter how you put it together. Back four, back five, back three, back two. It didn't matter what combo I was thinking of. I was like, we're going to get beat here, because I just didn't feel confident as soon as Romero comes out of the team.
Sorry, can I just make a comment very quickly? Tommy, did you see the comment I put in the chat?
No, I didn't.
Saying, fuck me, look at those handsome bastards, especially the bottom row. And now you've put me in the top row. So what you're trying to say is that, what you're trying to say, Mark's better looking than me. To be fair, I can admit it, he is. But it's not the point.
What, Gareth and McMahon? Oh, so you're not Fullball. You're not. No, what's that geezer called? Teabag Nuts. I'm convinced you're still that guy.
Mate, that's me on that. Yeah, I'm not nobody else. I
still
don't hide who I am.
Teabag Nuts. We had a tro. I'm convinced it was Gareth. That was some time ago.
I swear to God, it wasn't me.
That was some time ago, to be fair.
I do not know how to adapt my name once I log into something like YouTube or whatever else. So definitely not me. Right, but yeah, so you put me on the top. And Jacob, I said we're a handsome fucker. So now it's the right side as you look at it.
Before we get fully into it, people, subscribe, like, bell, super chats. Let's get the show on the road. As I said, this is a one word answer, Gareth. I know that might be difficult, but one word answer. Poch in?
No.
Mark?
No.
Jacob?
Don't know.
At least don't know 2 words. One word answer, motherfucker.
Don't know.
You don't answer, you got a forfeit, man.
No.
Nipple pierced, eyebrow waxing. It's got to be Poch in or Poch.
Yeah.
Poch in.
I tell you what, if you could break up Stellini and Conte, I'd take Stellini at the helm.
Trust me.
Screaming. A lot of people are screaming for it on Twitter. Get Poch back. So
But the thing is, Tommy, they're only calling that out because some of them aren't old enough to remember the days of Martin Yole properly. The days of AVB, the days of the mid-90s Drosh. Jerry Francis and fucking everybody else. They remember the beautiful football that Pochettino brought to this club, and do you know what? He brought beautiful football. I will never deny that fact. Excuse me. Do I think it's too soon for Pochettino to come back? Yeah, I do. I think it's too soon. It's not the right time. He's still got half the squad there that he had before. Levy's not going to back him, even if he does come in. If he does come in, the only reason he will is because Levy's thinking, well, he'll work with the youth team and save me some fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's the wrong time. I think Conte's the man at the moment to get Levy to spend the money on the players that we need to replace the shit that we've got at the moment, especially in central defence. Then maybe it's time for Poch to come in, because then he's got a decent squad to work with, hopefully a young squad to work with. You know, you look at, that guy over at Udinese down the left side. You know, we've got Paro in. We can get a couple of young decent centre-backs in, then and a younger, all-rounder for the front three over Richarlison. Then, yeah, maybe it's time to bring Poch back, but not at the moment. Not with how
I just think the reason why I say yes with Poch is that maybe it's a little bit of nostalgia, but it's like when he put his team together, he had Man City at their pump. You had Arsenal still battling for top four. You had Chelsea, you were winning trophies. But the good thing I could say was that even though we weren't the best, we weren't an elite side, at least we turned up to anybody, home and away, and said, all right, you're Man United, but we're Tottenham. Whereas right now, everybody's looking at us going, it's Tottenham. And it's not even the teams that I've just mentioned. We're talking Leicester. We're talking Fulham, Newcastle.
We're back to the Fergie days, aren't we? Where his team talk was Tottenham boys. Fuck it.
There you go. So, like, for instance, I did a video yesterday. Like, how many times, Leicester was scoring goals, and you had people like Tanganga and Sanchez, they were falling over. You had Eric Dier that was getting squared up by Iheanacho, and Iheanacho literally said to him, look, you've got 15 minutes to make sure that I don't shoot on my left foot. And he still didn't.
He got,
do you know what I mean?
Got completely squared up against Nketiah. And I don't know. He made Nketiah look like Henry. I'm not joking.
Yeah, he did.
Nketiah in the North London derby, he was that bad. Time and time again, I said it. I said it all last season when we were doing okay to squeeze into fourth. I think Arsenal still threw it away. I say you cannot trust this defence. You cannot trust Dier. And we know full well, free transfer windows since Conte's been there. We play free at the back. We've signed one centre back in those free transfer windows, and he's not even going to be there. Whatever happens, he's not going to be there at the end of the season. So we had no intention to get him in permanently. So no permanent signing in the last three windows when you play free at the back. Insanity. Right. First thing I want to get up is everything we're going to talk about. We're going to pretty much we've touched on, but I want to bring it up in actual banners as well. And I put full storm for Spurs because we were doing all right. We were doing okay. 3 clean sheets, Preston, Fulham, and of course City. Did you envisage this, Gareth? Did you see this being a possibility? Losing to Leicester in the fashion we did, 4-1?
Not in the fashion we did, but yes. Yeah, I thought it was a possibility because Leicester have been on the up. They've started showing that they're a team that we know what they're capable of. Let's be honest, Leicester have never been any mugs. They've just been going through a very bad run of form, and it's lasted for a long time. Granted, I erred on the side of we'll take this because we're their bogey team, a bit like we're City. I went to the City game at home, it was a pleasure to watch. It was a pleasure to be there, not just for Kane, but for seeing Spurs play some attacking football. It was great. But yeah, I erred on the side of we're their bogey team, so I don't really. It doesn't matter how much they dominate. I still think we'll get it because of the fact that we always seem to. Did I expect Spurs to be so poor? No. Did I expect us to not be as good as City? Yes. Did I expect Leicester to be so hungry for it with the way things have been? No, not really. I kind of hoped that the way they were, that the way things have been going for them would have really knocked the shit out of them, and they would have just kind of gone into it with a bit of a drudge. And to be fair, though, if they had gone into it with a bit of a drudge, they still would have kicked the fuck out of us with how we turned up or how we didn't turn up. I feel sorry for the fans who went there because that's still a decent enough drive for a Saturday afternoon to. And home trip for fuck all. The way they didn't turn up to what they did to that game was ridiculous. It was a joke. There was nothing in that game at all. 5 changes. Granted, Romero was necessary, but did I think that we needed the other changes? Probably not. I wouldn't have done that myself. I would have probably put Royale in a right centre back and played Paro so they could have at least
It was an option. People were talking about that.
Yeah, well, I agreed with it when people were saying it. I genuinely would have played Royal.
I think with Emerson, I think he is he's about 6'2", isn't he? He was winning headers against Grealish, but it was Grealish.
Do you know what? The guy had it. For me, the best way I can kind of describe it is not playing Royale against Leicester is like not playing Mora against Liverpool in the Champions League final.
Yeah, 100%.
Somebody who's had an amazing game.
You go that far.
For the way Royale's been all season and for the pelters that boy's got, right?
Yeah.
He put in for me, an 8.5, 9-star performance. All right. You're
definitely not going all Captain Hindsight here, Gareth.
No, mate, it is, mate. Do you know what? Hindsight's a beautiful thing. But genuinely, for me, I would have had Romero still. I would have had him in a right centre back because at the very least, you would have known he would have covered Paro's arse better than what Tandanga did.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Tandanga's been out of the squad for far too long, so you try and make you know. Don't get me wrong, it might have been the same result, but we could have been sat here going, "Fuck's sake," you know, Romero, you absolute tool, you know. But at the same time, you've given the guy an opportunity to continue what he had the week before. And they always say with footballers, consistency is key, right? If I was having a great game as a forward, right, but Harry Kane came back and I was dropped in as a number 9 or even into midfield, I would still feel great because I've still made the starting lineup. I would still give my all and try and carry on what I did from the week before. And I think that it was missed by putting Tandanga in, and Tandanga has missed far too much. If anybody was going to go in, it should have been Sanchez. You know, if you weren't going to play Royale at right centre back, I don't understand half of what they did last week. I don't get what they did yesterday compared to the City game. I don't get why you would bring in Tandanga instead of Davies, or why you wouldn't play Romero at right centre back. You know, I know a lot of people do not rate Royale. I understand why they don't rate him, but yeah, consistency is key. The guy has now got a chance to continue and kick on from a brilliant performance against City. That chance was taken away from him, which will, knock-on effect could potentially be his confidence takes a knock. Paro to be fair, you'd have thought Leicester would have been an easy enough game for him. The guy was taken to the fucking cleaners. The boy was ripped to shreds.
This is the problem. This is the problem. We're in the Spurs are in the market for players. The only top players we can get are from Portugal or Holland. We cannot bring the best in the best leagues. We just can't. We don't pay the best wages. We don't win any trophies. The players don't want to come. We don't pay the fees. So we have to look to Holland. We have to look to Portugal. But
it doesn't matter. This is the thing. And this is where my negativity comes to Conte, Tommy. This is where my negativity to Conte comes in. Paro, fantastic player. Now, it shouldn't matter whether they're from Italy, France, Germany, Holland, Spain, Portugal, right? If those players are good enough, right?
Yeah, but this is the thing. How do we know they're good enough from their performances in Portugal?
You don't know. That's the problem, though.
Exactly.
But
it's a risk.
They've got to have done something to have caught the scout's eye for Tottenham, for Man City, because there are reports that they came back in from at the 11th hour, but he chose to stay at Spurs. So then it all comes down to, well, what are they doing on the training ground? This guy, we saw what he did to us when we played him in the Champions League. Paro caused us problems, along with Marcus Edwards. So therefore, we know the guy's a threat. We know the kid's got ability. We know the kid is good enough. All right. And yes, there is that element. And I said this about Royale when he started. Give the kid time to settle. Let him settle. It's a new league. It's a new country. Right. But at the same time, Paro has come in with a lot more clout, a lot better stats, and is a lot better right wing back than what Royale is. So therefore, surely his performance should have been at least 5 points better than what Royale's was and what Royale's has been since being at Spurs. And that comes down to the coaching staff.
Jacob's getting his speech ready. Before he does.
No. I was looking for that quickly.
I had a dream of Paro down the right.
No. I was honestly looking at something else.
That's it. The Martin Luther King of Tottenham fucking podcast. Come on,
I want to talk to Mark about the false dawn. Did you see this coming? And of course, the Royal situation, the right wing back situation for you. Who would you have gone with in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see this coming, to be honest. I thought, this was going to be maybe the start of the run similar to we had last season. At the end of last season, we went on that great run and kind of secured top 4. We had all our players coming back, guys getting fit again, guys seeming to hit some form. So, I mean, look, it's obviously with Spurs, there's always a possibility something can go tits up. But I didn't expect us to lose 4-1 for sure. I thought maybe if we do struggle, maybe a draw, maybe 1-1, 2-2 type of thing. And yeah, in terms of the wing back, look, I mean, before the game, I think everyone was calling for Porro to start. So you can't really knock the selection. We just signed him for £40 million, £45 million, whatever it is. And he seems to be a great player. He just showed that his weakness is definitely on the defensive side. I saw some also kind of people putting up his graphs or stats, in terms of his per match, how many clearances he has. And you could clearly see that was his weakness. And I mean, yeah, he struggled. It was a real struggle for him. So I would have gone for Porro as well from the start, to be honest. So I can't really blame Conte for picking him.
I've got to say, I would have gone from Porro because I don't want to wait until Royal is going to make one of those awful mistakes and just put one of the Royal performances we've seen for the previous 55 games, whatever he's played, 2 assists.
Yeah.
But Jacob, where do you sit on that? Would you have started Porro? But Gareth said, you'd start Porro, but maybe put Emerson in at right centre back. What would you have done? Would you change anything going into the game?
No, what I was thinking is that I didn't want Emerson Royal playing in that position just because it'd feel like an experiment. I think if we tried that against Preston and it worked, then cool. But I was calling for Emerson to stay just because I believe in football. No matter who you are, you got to kind of earn your stripes. Do you know what I mean? You got to come in and go right. Just because he tore us a new arsehole doesn't mean that he's got a right to start. And for me, it was like when we play away to like a Leicester or anyone in the Premier League, we're more than likely to sit off. So in my mind, it's like, one, if we're sitting off, and 2, Romero isn't playing, that means whether it's Sanchez or Tanganga playing that position, which I knew it was going to be, they need cover. So, when Harvey Barnes was going in them channels, and Emerson Royal wouldn't have gone too far forward because he prefers to sit off and tuck in. So I don't think Harvey Barnes would have had that much joy. Whereas Pedro Porro is used to playing for Lisbon. And when we played Lisbon were a front foot team. So it got to the point where he was just causing us all sorts of problems because not only were they front foot, we were sitting off him. So he looked more like a right winger than a right back. So then to go to the King Power, where we all know if they're on form, you got a problem. You're kind of telling him, oh, you can't really go forward too much. You got to sit in with the boys and cover for Tanganga. So he must be thinking like, what am I doing here? That's why he got rinsed. He's not really a defensive forward. For me, it felt like it felt like it gave me Trent Alexander-Arnold energy. Like Liverpool haven't got another right back, but if Liverpool are on the front foot, Trent is Beckham, but on the back foot, he's the problem. So that's what you're going to get with Porro because I don't think he's that great defensively.
Just going on what Danny says, it's the whole thing's bullshit. We've always got something to moan about. The toxicity of the fan base. It doesn't matter who it is. Royale didn't play, so Dier's getting pelters. One thing I put out yesterday was no way can we blame Foster for those goals yesterday. They were all, at least 3 of those, defensively should have been,
Gareth, let's get it right. It's Forster because apparently we're buying Ben Foster, so this could get confusing. Right, so Forster.
Okay, Big Fraser. There you go. Big Fraser. I don't think you can put him at fault for anything that happened. One of those goals is fucking blistering. You can't. But defensively, 3 of those should have been closed down, and quite rightly. It reminded me of that the hat trick that Ronaldo scored against us when we played away up at Man United when Dier should have closed him down when he scored an absolute peach from outside the box. Forster can't do anything. Madison had a good game. Defensively, even midfield, the spaces we were leaving in the middle of the park, it was fucking ridiculous. And I know, but this is the problem again. It goes back to what I started with the toxicity of this fan base. Somebody will always get the blame. Somebody is always going to be the biggest cunt on that pitch. Whether it be Big Fraser, whether it be Dier, whether it be the Viking in the middle, Højbjerg. Oh yeah, what was that cunt doing? He wasn't doing enough. Oh fuck me. There's a picture where it looks like he's taking a step the wrong way in an attack. Oh my god.
It was Iniesta on the weekend, wasn't he? It was Iniesta after the Man City.
At the end of the day, do you know what? nothing. You can always pause a piece of action to take a photo to suit a narrative. There is always something you can do to make sure you make somebody look a cunt, right? Yeah. And we're very good as a fan base at doing this. And it's never going to change. You know, the problem is we've got so much disgruntlement. You know, it's either fucking Levy, get that cunt out. We hate the ball bastard. The guy doesn't put his money in. The guy doesn't do X, Y, and Z. Oh, well, Conte's tactics, they're all fucking negative. Look at Stellini. We played against Man City. Look at how he played with us. Now, all of a sudden, Conte comes back in. We get humped by Leicester. And then if we can't blame Conte because of the Conte lovers, then they'll all turn around and go, oh, fucking hell, well, it's Dier's fault because he's fucking shit. Oh, my God, it's Sanchez's fault. He's an arsehole. Royal's a fucking prick. That cunt isn't good enough to lace up Walker's boots. Shit, what the fuck was Højbjerg doing? Oh, well, Sonny's a fucking bell end. What's that cunt doing? You can't win. You can't.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, what I'll say to that on Gareth is, you're.
Have I missed something? Have I missed anything with that kind of breakdown? Because
no.
That's how it seems.
But what it is that is the sign of a bad squad that isn't consistent. Because if you look at Pochettino, for instance, when we were at White Hart Lane and we're winning all them games, the only thing that everybody would complain about is Pochettino isn't being backed enough. So everybody's energy was towards Enoch not giving Poch 1 or 2, 3 more world-class signings that would have got us over the edge. So the energy was pretty balanced. But because we've got a bad squad and we've got a bad chairman, and then the manager doesn't seem to know what he's doing half the time, this is where you get everybody blaming everything. Like, you're going to get people blaming the chairs at the stadium soon.
Yeah.
When we're talking about, my opinion on the whole, false dawn thing is that, look, we won 3 on the bounce. It was Preston, it was Fulham, it was City, who we always beat. And to be honest with you, that's the worst City side I've seen out of all the City sides we've beat over the last 5 years. And we beat City. We beat City 2 seasons on the bounce and finished 6th and 7th. So we're just their bogey team.
I saw something interesting. I saw something interesting that somebody tweeted after last season. We beat City at home and then we lost to Burnley, Southampton.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it was the Man City game specifically, not just Preston and Fulham. It was a false dawn.
To me, that tweet gave me hope. But, you even look at the comments, take a picture, Clarkey, Nobby Clark. If you want a picture of a bunch of cunts, take a picture, take a team photo. Mark Swift, sniff the bell end. To be fair, mate, I want to be sniffing something else, but don't stress. You buy a pony, you end up with a pony. Some of these players we buy aren't ponies. Parrow isn't a pony. He looked like a fucking pony stuck in mud yesterday. The season's over for me. I just hope Arsenal don't win the league. I'd rather see Newcastle win it. The odds are it's going to be City or Arsenal. That's the reality. I don't give a fuck what everybody else is doing. I just focus on Spurs. I want us to finish the best we can. Granted, things aren't great, but the problem is, and my point is there is always somebody to blame from the top to the bottom. All right. If you Enoch out, then the fans aren't good enough because they're not standing up to Daniel Levy. If you're a Levy enough, well, Conte's not good enough and not getting the best. He's supposed to be a world-class manager, but he's not getting the best out of these players. It shouldn't matter that X, Y, and Z. Conte's this. Everybody has a narrative that's negative towards the club. Everybody has something that they wholeheartedly believe, and they will then turn around and say, well, this is the reason. It doesn't, Poch did it with Dier. Look, we nearly won the league and we had Dier in defence. Doesn't matter. Why isn't Conte getting a tune out of him? It's obviously Conte's fault. Everybody has a reason. And everybody sat, and the worst part is every reason is actually, in my opinion, justified. Whether you Levy out, Levy in, the team's shit, the team's not. It's the manager's fault, the manager's not. Everybody has a genuinely justified reason as to why they're disgruntled with what's going on at Tottenham. And that's just how I view it when you look at the amount of arguments that I had on Twitter, that I had in the pub, as a fan base in general. Everybody's reasons are actually justified because there's no one place that you can turn around and definitely say without a yeah, but, or what about this? Or have you thought of? There's no specific place where you can turn around and say, yes, it's definitely that prick's fault. No, it's down to Levy. Yes, it's down to Conte. It's all down to the players because there's always a but.
I think many people in the chat are not surprised either. In terms of the false dawn after, conceding 4 against Leicester with Romero.
I saw my name.
Romero not in the back. What I will say is Look, I do like Romero, but we've conceded this amount of goals, and our defence has been this awful with and without him in the team, and he does have his weaknesses as well. I mean,
do you know what? But this goes back to what I've just said, though, isn't it? Romero is a great defender, but would he be better if we didn't have Dier?
I rate Romero, but for me, well, of course he would. Yeah, I mean, he spent his entire Spurs career with Royal to his right and Dier to centrally. So it's always going to be difficult. But he has got a hot head, and he's got to improve aerially. Doesn't matter who's next to him. He's got to start winning headers. So there's but of course he's by far the best centre back out of the six we have. It's just he's just going back to not signing another centre back for 3 winners. I don't think it's solely on that, and I don't think much would have changed.
Back in a minute, getting another beer.
Romero. We've lost games with Romero playing. I wanted to put this share screen up because we've got to look at Conte. We've always got to look at Conte to a certain extent. Managers are culpable. I'm definitely Conte in, but first forced substitute is the 75th minute. Richarlison for Perisic. I think we're already 3-1 down. Obviously, Bentancur went off earlier.
Wow, I sound stupid. What's the point? Seriously,
Bentancur went off. Earlier.
Sorry, opinions are like arseholes, mate. Everybody has them, and some of them stink. Don't like it. You know what to do. Fuck off.
Jacob, 75th minute. What did you make? The first force sub coming in the 75th minute. Too late.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought this up, Tommy, because this is exactly what I was saying. Because for me, I'm not saying it feels like Conte. I'm not saying he's doing it on purpose, but it feels like there's a sense of purpose to it because it's like for me, if Conte had a 3-year deal, it was all settled and he had all the players that he wants, and we were in that position. I'm very confident at half-time he would have said, Porro, come off, made a few jigs around, maybe brought Richarlison on a bit earlier, you got Danjuma on. But it's like he sent the same team out, we're getting battered the same way, and then it literally, you think to yourself, right, 60th minute, 65th, traditional substitutions to be made. And then the first one he makes is Bentancur, which had to be done. And then he brings on Richarlison on when realistically we should have been 4-1 down. Like that goal that got given for Harvey Barnes, I thought he was onside. So it's like he does that, and then he brings Danjuma on, who realistically all he did was a couple of step overs and a cross, but he did more than what Son did in the whole game. So it's like for me, you're sanctioning these signings. If you're not doing them, you make Paratici is, but you're not using the squad properly. Like you were naive to start Porro in my eyes. You still can't figure out that you need to make substitutions early because he does this all the time. But what baffles me even more is that your assistants in Stellini literally did in one game what you're supposed to do. Like he moved Dier up just a little bit further to nullify their midfield. He made substitutions in the 60th minute that made sense to us all. Højbjerg was told to press. That's the reason why we ended up getting that goal for Harry Kane to score. It's like, how is it that your assistant got that right tactically in one game against arguably the top, the best squad in the league, but then you come back and get it wrong? There's no two ways about it. You got it wrong against a worse side when your assistant got it right. So for me, it's like even the substitute, forget all the tactics and all that stuff because obviously they share a common ground. It's substitutions that do my thing. Like, how have you not made a sub at half time when realistically Leicester could have been beaten us 5-1 at half time? It's nonsense.
And this is what sways me towards kind of is Conte the right man for the job? 70 minutes before you make a substitution at 3-1 down, you want to try and affect a game with 20 minutes and you need 3 goals. You're right. You're right in what you say, Jacob. It's a half-time substitution. At the very least, it's a 60-minute, substitution to give the boys half an hour. And again, it comes back and what the Point FC amplifies what I'm saying perfectly. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody can see that there is an issue somewhere, but for whatever the reason is, you can't say all out it's somebody specifically. But but when it comes to in-game management, yeah, it's all on Conte in my opinion, and he is lacking, and he has been lacking in a lot of games where we look like we're struggling. Granted, up until bringing in Danjuma and Paro, the options have been limited. We've now got Danjuma, who you saw when he came, when we played Preston. Didn't do too bad. Doesn't matter with Preston. It was a good start for him. He came in, you say he only did a step over, but he still provided a little, you could see there was a little bit of a worry. He did the step over, he got the cross in, but he made them think. He's a new player. They don't know what to expect from him, but if you don't give your team long enough for those substitutions to be effective, No point fucking doing them. And that's been my only criticism of Conte. He doesn't make his substitutions early enough.
Mark, do you think not having Lloris made any difference? A lot of people wanted Lloris dropped anyway for Forster before he got his, his 2-month injury. Do you think that made a big difference, maybe on the pitch or off the pitch to the loss?
I don't think so. I think, I don't know if it would have made any difference. I think the defense in front of him were just so bad, or the defenders played so badly. So I can't see how Lloris would have made a difference, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, those goals, they were all, in the corner. It's not like Forster could have done much better with the saves. I thought Perisic should have closed down that guy that scored the second goal much better. No, sorry, it was the first goal. It was from the corner, I think. And the wing-backs were just Porro and Perisic, I thought, defensively were really poor in the first half.
What have you made of Perisic overall? Obviously, he's far, far too quick to be analysing Porro in too much detail. But Perisic overall, season.
Also, I don't know. I just wonder.
I'd say, that is probably what's going to happen with Porro. Better attacking than he is defensively.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, he chipped in with quite a few assists from free kicks. And corners. His set piece delivery is great. But sometimes defensively he does look a little shaky. So
I've really rattled this fucker, haven't I? And on a lighter note, Mark, I could listen to you all fucking day, mate. You're going to send me to sleep if you're not careful.
He's not. What's the point? Is a crack, to be fair.
You know what?
He's always a crack.
You know what? His contributions are great, and I've never been at the receiving end. So
he's a crackerjack.
Yeah, he's like that. Yeah, but what team gives no one gives Conte a shit defense to start the season. You do if you're Tottenham. This is another thing that amazes me, and I've said this about like Kane in the past. Kane sits there and goes, "I'll only stay at Tottenham if they match my ambition." But Kane knows exactly what that club do, right? Yet he stayed there season after season. Same as Spurs fans. We know what that club does season after season. So, it doesn't matter.
Unfortunately, we haven't got a choice, though. We haven't got a choice.
Tottenham are going to
support the team. We can't go anywhere else. Well, I suppose certain fans can. But, yeah, we can't.
That's the reason why. Yeah, go on.
Do you know what? What's the point, FC? Just said, don't come down on Conte when you know he hasn't been back. But the problem is, Conte, to a degree, has been backed. Over 3 windows, we brought in Kulusevski, Bentancur, Porro, Danjuma, Perisic, and the other.
But were they his signings? Where did they? To be fair, with exception to Spence, which is the only one he was vocal about, right? Every other signing has sounded like Conte has had the seal of approval over. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that he, Levy in. I'm not saying that he's, that the signings have been right. But we've gone for players that apparently Conte's wanted. We've managed to secure the majority of the players that apparently Conte has wanted. Conte's very vocal. He's not made no bones about this. How many times on various streets have people said, fucking Conte don't hold back. Conte says what he thinks. Conte, if he hasn't got the players, he's going to say, well, this team ain't back me. Go fuck yourself. So how can you sit? Perisic's passed it, but Conte wanted him. So you've kind of fucked your own point, in my opinion, with that comment. What's the point, FC? Because you can't sit there and say he hasn't been backed when actually we've had 9 players come in over the space of 3 transfer windows, and only one of them, through Conte's admittance, hasn't been a Conte approved. We'll never know, will we? We're not in the boardroom.
We will never know.
Never know. If I'm looking at a manager, if I'm looking at a manager that plays
he was a club signing.
If I'm looking at a manager that plays 3 centre backs and has done for the last 10 years, 6 centre backs. We currently have 6 centre backs in the squad. Yep. I'm thinking you need to sign a centre back, and I'm thinking Conte saying sign a centre back. But we know every club now. There's a difference between the hierarchy in terms of director of football, owner, and the manager. The manager's not fully in control of transfers like he used to be. So,
and just so they know,
we know there's that.
Saying he's been back to a degree.
With that, Gareth, because I think a blind man, Stevie Wonder, can see that we need centre backs, and you know, I think
No
we
question.
mess
No
about
question.
we mess about in windows. We messed about in January.
Yeah,
We talk
he's
about
not been
Danjuma.
backed in certain positions.
Danjuma's wonderful.
in my opinion.
Danjuma's wonderful as a left winger, but we didn't need a left winger. We need a centre back first, and we get a left winger after. We didn't need a third left winger. The guy's injury prone anyway. First half of this season, Danjuma's been injury prone. He's been installed to cover for injuries, and he's an injury prone. Doesn't make any sense. we needed centre backs. Messing about with this poor old deal. 31 days into the window.
It was
insanity.
a joke, yeah.
Absolute insanity. It gives you no time. It gives you no time to look at other players.
You know when you say the centre backs, though.
More importantly, Jacob, it gives you an excuse. It gives you an excuse to not look at other players, and I think that's
I agree. Yeah.
They look for excuses. They just want excuses.
I think with the centre half thing, I agree with you, Tommy. But you know what? For me, this is why Conte annoys me, because I'm not saying he's a bad coach, because you know what I mean, his CV speaks for itself. But it's like the one thing that irritates me about him is he doesn't adapt. So it's like, for instance, like, I don't know, let's say you're managing, you know, I'm managing a Sunday league team. I know it's nowhere like Tottenham, but if it gets to the point I want to play a back three, but then the people that I've got in my squad, there's only 2 centre halves that I want to play, then I've got to sit there the night before and go, you know what, I'm going to go to a back 4 because there's only 2 centre halves that I trust. Why are you, if you've got 3 centre halves, and let's say, I don't know, in the back of his mind, he doesn't trust Dier, don't play him then. Just play Romero, play Longley, he's the other one that you back, and play 3 in midfield to protect them, because at least if you haven't got your back 3 or your back 5, so to speak, you've got 3 midfielders in Bentancur, Basuma and Højbjerg that between the 3 of them can protect the defence. They can protect the wing backs, but he just keeps playing the back 5 regardless, and we can see that Dier's struggling. Romero does all right, but then he'll just get frustrated and get himself sent off. We've got wing backs that, you know, not only can they not defend, they can't attack, but they're meant to be our strengths. So for me, it's like we can all see as Spurs fans that some things ain't working, but we all know in football, sometimes things are simple. And I think the simple things Conte's making difficult. Like if the back 5 isn't working and nobody's comfortable and I feel a lot of our players are uncomfortable not being able to press. I think that Højbjerg would like to press, Bentancur, even Son and Kane, they've played in teams beforehand where he's supposed to press.
By the same token, 4 at the back, we finished 6th and 7th with other managers, the 2 previous seasons.
With other managers, yeah.
I think this is. I know it's bad. I know it's awful to watch, but I think in terms of league position, in terms of getting to the Champions League next stage, FA Cup, I don't think any manager's doing that. I don't think 99% of managers are not doing that. It's not great to watch. Conte's never been great to watch, never in any job.
No, I'm not criticising Conte. What I'm saying is that
I don't see a change to 4 at the back. I don't think will work with this team. We can't defend with 3 centre backs. How you going to defend with 2 centre backs? I don't see it with this.
But what I'm saying is that it's like it goes like as much as I hate to say, do you remember Arsene Wenger? Now there's some after the Invincible teams, he used to have some terrible defenders. He'd have Squillaci, Andros Santos, all these horrible players. But regardless, he'd finish in the top 3 or top 4. Why? Because instead of like thinking, well, I've got a whole bag of crap defenders, he would just go, right, you're my best 4, and I'll pack out the midfield. And, you know, as much as they weren't great and weren't winning stuff, they'd go and win an FA Cup and finish top 4, which is what we're all craving, aren't we? But then for me, we're going so negative, even though our defenders are that bad. If we've got 10 bad defenders yet in the squad, why are we playing 5 of them? Just play 4 of them, because if we've got a whole load of good midfielders and we've got a lot of attackers, play more of the attackers and the midfielders than the defenders. Because there's no point in trying to say, oh, play a back 5 and we'll win that way, because we're doing that and we ain't winning. But then if you look at the goals that we're scoring, I think it's only City and Arsenal that have scored more goals than us. But when you look at the defence, even though we've got 5 defenders, it's like Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth and Southampton are the only teams that have conceded more. So why are we playing all the defenders then? Just might as well just go attack and stick, you know, a Danjuma in there, Richarlison with the attackers, score another 10 more goals, because we're going to concede goals regardless, because they're all crap.
So I'm not sure about anyone else. But of course, you've got to be proactive. Now the window's shut, you've still got to be proactive going into next summer. I think we are to a certain extent. That's probably with the off the pitch stuff. You know, Beyonce. I don't know who's it. Wizkid,
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Probably looking for the next concerts we can get in there. Other sport. You know, we'll probably try and get the Masters in there. Golf at some point.
I think the only reason Beyonce's coming in is because she's got a decent back 3.
But most teams,
You've seen those girls. Look at the way they hold it.
I saw today. I saw a link today, and I'm hearing Ivan Toney. We linked with Ivan Toney. I mean, come on. That's not the player we need to be looking at. It's not the. We need centre back. We had the opportunity in January as well. De Vrij, look, somebody's already put it. De Vrij and Dika Skriniar, they're all running out of contract in the summer. So chuck a £5 million bid in there, £10 million bid. Two of them play for Inter. It's well known that they're in debt. So if their contracts are running out in the summer, De Vrij and Skriniar, chuck them £10 million. Get them in. It was so obvious we needed centre backs that he should have been at the forefront. Maybe even more than a right wing back. I know it's going to be controversial, but maybe even more. And that's not in hindsight with Emerson doing okay lately. It's centre back. We need 5. You've got 6 centre backs in the squad because you need a backup for each one. Outside of Romero, I would not lose sleep if we lost all of them. If we lost all 5 of the other ones, I would not lose any sleep. I'm sure many Spurs fans are the same. The fact that we're not investing
to be fair, what's the point of C? Great point. Why do
we can keep going back? I don't want to keep going back. I don't want to keep going back, but the only way to stop that is by to change things going forward. And we're not changing things going forward. We're doing the same fucking thing again and again and again and again. Right. Back to the game specifically.
Let's talk about this. It's more fun.
I want to put this up. Right. No. It's not going to be, we're not going to talk about the actual, get into the actual fundamentals of the game. But if you had to choose the best and worst Spurs player yesterday, Gareth, who would it be? And if there was a Leicester player you could bring in, who would that be?
Leicester player bringing in, hands down, Maddison. Maddison. I've always rated him. I think he's he provides goals. He provides assists. He's a player that can unlock a game. And I think he'd be brilliant in the Spurs squad. And best and worst player for Spurs yesterday, I think Bentancur had a decent game, all considered, until his injury. And I hate the fact that he's now out for as long as he is. Poor bastard.
We'll get onto that. We will certainly.
And the worst player, there could be many. Dier. Dier was probably the worst. Yes. The lack of closing down, just his all-round headless chickenness in that game yesterday for me made him the worst.
Over to you, Mark. Best, worst, and if you had if you could choose any Leicester player to come to Spurs, who would it be? You in the Maddison camp too?
I'd probably take any of their centre backs, to be honest, over ours.
They're not even great, are they? They're not even great, but they'll still be a major upgrade.
They'd be an upgrade, I think they'd be an upgrade on ours. And then I think, Dier was bad. Or Porro, I know it's his first game, and I'm not saying I'm hating on Porro, but I thought he had quite a bad one as well, quite a few mistakes. So between the two of them, and can't really add. Best player. I don't think there's anyone who really, for me, gets a mention. I think everyone was pretty poor.
Jacob, any? we'll go to that. Any best player for you? Anyone deserve that award yesterday? I don't know. As Gareth said, Bentancur for the time he was on the pitch. I think most people would go there. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I think I'll probably I'll agree with what Mark's saying. I'll get that energy, but Bentancur at least for the first 10-15 minutes he did well because he was trying to win tackles. Hence the reason why he got booked. He scored the goal, obviously, and he was the only person I felt that if we gave the ball to him in midfield, something might happen. He might be the only key to giving the front three a ball. He's probably the best. The worst, for me, I'm probably going to go different because obviously it was pretty clear to see that it's probably Dier, like Gareth said, and I agree with Mark that Porro was, but I want to take Porro out of there because it's his first game. For me, the one person is probably Son because it got to the point where I don't know, man. It felt like he just had a split for the game. There were some things that he was doing that I just didn't understand. Like if you boys remember correctly, there was one time where Leicester misplaced the ball it rolled to Son, and all he had to do is take it out of his right foot, left foot, through ball. Harry Kane would have had a touch, made it 3-2, made the game interesting. But he took one touch, which allowed for Kane to get marked. He took another one, which he could have then given to Kulusevski, and then he took another one and put it through to Kane when he was clearly offside 5 minutes ago. And I just thought to myself, no, this can't run. Like, I'm not the best footballer in the world, but I'm quite confident. I would have at least tried to find Kane there, but he just lost his head. So I'd say Son, player for Leicester. I think it's obvious that it's Maddison, but because we don't play a number 10, I'd go for somebody.
That's one of the things. Yeah.
So for me, in mind, if we were going to get someone from Leicester to fit what we're doing with Conte, it'd be Harvey Barnes, and that's somebody that I've been calling for a couple of years now because he's an old school winger. He's direct. I think with the right training.
Would you straight swap for Son?
Based on form, 100%. If someone said to me, I woke up in the morning, it's like Son's on the bench, Harvey Barnes is playing, I'll have a beer to that. Trust me, I'm being that real. It's not reactionary. It's like realistically, I think it was one of your shows that I came on, and I knew that Son had been bad. But then when someone said to me, apart from the Crystal Palace, the Leicester hat trick, he'd only scored one goal, and I was like, nah. So while you were talking, I had to look. I was like, what? And this guy's just been.
That was me. That was a rare statistic from me. I don't use many, but
yeah, this is what is it. So I was like, what? I remember getting in bed thinking that's crazy. But then even now, I've got that in my head. And no matter what we did yesterday, Son was being played. He got put out on the right. Now, Luke Kulusevski was having a stinker, but I think even with a stinker, with his left foot, he'd at least create a chance with Danjuma, Richarlison, and Kane on. But it's like it's either Son's got it in the contract or like. I don't know, man. Son's been adopted by Conte or something. So I just don't understand why he keeps playing. It's got this, for me, it's got that energy of like, remember when you used to play Sunday League and you had the coach's son, and no matter how crap he was, he stayed on the pitch.
It's a bit like how Kane was under Pochettino. No matter what, Kane played.
Yeah, but at least he was banging goals. Son's not doing anything.
Not all the time, but
pretty much, man.
As soon as he was fit from injury, straight back. There was no quite integration, but
what do you think's caused it, Jacob?
What's that?
What do you think's caused Son's form?
That's a good question. I don't know. It's really weird. I think that there's a mixture of things. I think it's probably fatigue. I think what everyone forgets about is the training regime, because everyone was like, yeah, this is what we want to see. But I don't think any of them players have ever gone through that. So it was either going to work well for them to be fitter for the season, or it was going to work terribly. And I think for Son, he played quite a lot of games last year. He played this. He's gone into that fitness regime. Players are getting overworked anyway, and then as he's got a year older, and the system's been the same. But then you bring in someone like Perisic, who I don't think he works well with. So then I think there's that element of working with a different fullback, which doesn't allow him to do what he normally does. But then Harry Kane was our number 10. He was constantly dropping off. But now Harry Kane's like, no, I want to go and play like I'm supposed to play. If you're Son, who's feeding you? Are you relying on Højbjerg to feed you? So in my mind, if you brought in a James Maddison and went to a back four under a different coach, I think Son sometimes just has to stand there and score, because I don't think the finishing element's left out of him. I just think it's all the energy, and I think it's the lack of confidence in the team. I don't think he feels he's going to be fed by this team, because if I was Son and I had his skills, I wouldn't be confident in anybody assisting me apart from Harry Kane. But all of a sudden, I've got to do it for him.
I heard this thing going around that one of the reasons Son's playing so badly is because he obviously gets a lot of his balls and through balls through from Harry Kane, so they mark Kane out of the game, and that's why Son doesn't get the ball. They done it last season. Everybody done that to Kane last season. He was still getting the ball through, and he finished Golden Boot winner because the season before, Kane got the most assists in the Premier League. So teams knew that he could pass the ball last season. I think that's nonsense. Son is an emotional player. When it goes well, it goes very, very well. And when it goes badly, it goes very, very badly. He needed to be dropped. In the first 7 games this season, when he was playing badly and Richarlison was fit, he needed to be dropped in one of those games just to give 100%. Him just to let him know where it's at. If you're not bringing it, I don't care about your reputation. You're out of the squad, and we're going to get somebody else in. And I think that was a problem. Oh, there's a few times I can look at Conte and say I think he's made errors, and I think he made an error there. But you can sort of let him off because he finished his Golden Boot record. But right now he needs, with Richarlison, if Richarlison's fully fit, he needs to be dropped and put in there, or even Danjuma. If he sees that Danjuma's putting it in training, he's putting the yards in, then Danjuma, because he's a left winger at the end of the day. So in terms of the worst player yesterday, Eric Dier all day long. Eric the Donkey Dyer. People say I've got a diet agenda. I agree. I absolutely have an agenda. I want him gone. I want him out.
Rightly so.
If it means we can get him out, then
Yeah.
I've got the biggest Dier agenda ever. He just seems more interested. Whenever I see him defend and a player coming at him, he's more interested in get his arms away from the ball to make sure he doesn't handball it. He's got there's no will to engage in challenges. Doesn't attempt to tackle anyone. Just backs off, hoping it'll hit him. A shot will hit him, or somebody else will help him out and win the ball off him. It's shocking. As a centre mid, he's all right. I'll chuck him up there as a centre mid just to keep him out the back line. But as a centre back, no way. So he was the worst for me. There's plenty of contenders. There's plenty of contenders. I'm with Mark when I say there's no best performer. That's why I didn't put any ratings out or ask for everyone's rating. It's going to be like a 2 and a 3. Out of 10, it's just everyone's going to get a 2 and a 3. It was that bad. But yeah, I think 99% of the fans would take Maddison. But again, as Jacob says, if you're looking at this system, Maddison's not going to fit in it. But I think if you're looking at Leicester overall and you just look at their most talented player, I think you've got to say Maddison. And that could happen next season because, I don't think Conte is going to be there. And unless we sign Tuchel, who it could happen because we always appoint ex-Chelsea managers, I think we're going back to 4 at the back with the next manager. Almost certainly, if Conte's not there, then you're going to need a cam. And Maddison would be perfect. He plays for Leicester. We're bigger than Leicester. They're really on a down trajectory now as well, aren't they?
Well, to be fair, mate, if we carry on going the way we're going, there's still time for us to slip below Leicester.
Somebody said I think Football we're going to get relegated. But he's homegrown. We're struggling with a homegrown situation. He can take set pieces. He ticks so many boxes. That he would be. It would be a given that you'd go for him. I don't know what's happening with Tielemans. He would fit in a 2 centre mid system, but he's lost the plot.
To be fair, Tielemans is a pointless signing when you've got a player like Højbjerg and Skip. To be fair,
he's slightly more attacking. He's slightly more box to box.
Do you know what? But Skip holds that little bit of attacking. Højbjerg has proven he's got that attacking side. Hence why I gave the reference to those 2 players. I don't think Tielemans. I think we've got players who maybe not as good. Potentially, compared to some fans' opinions, but yourself with Skip and my personal opinion regards Højbjerg. I don't think that Tielemans gets in above those 2.
Certainly not at the moment. It would be too much of a risk because he's not been pulling it for the last season or so. But yeah, we get to this now. This is hard to. You mentioned Skip. This is hard to get our head around. We've had a few injuries recently. I didn't realise Bissouma was out for 3 months. Jacob just mentioned it before we came on. So that's I thought that might have been slightly less. We're talking like 5-6 weeks or something like that. But Benny's out for 6 months. He's done for the season, 6 to 8 months. Bissouma's going to miss a lot of the season. Would you say, Gareth, would you say he's been our best player even, Bentancur? Forget centre midfielder, best player outside of Kane?
I think he's been fantastic. The composure he shows on the ball, the skill that he's got, the way he's able to play, sort of passes and calm it down, even when he comes back and helps out in defence. I think Bissouma's been by far our best player Bentancur has been by far our best player this season. And I think he's going to be an absolute terrible miss. Even to the point where, what's the point FC said, about putting Dier back into the midfield line. I'd even put Dier back up just to get him out of defence more than anything else. But I think we're really going to struggle without him unless Danjuma is able to play somewhere across the middle and almost try and do what he's done. Then I think we're going to have a real problem without him playing.
So, Mark, Benny, outside of Kane, has he been the best player? Like first name on the team sheet for you?
Yeah, I'd say so.
What are we going to do without him, man? Who's coming in? So,
we know Conte is not going to change his system, so we've only got really Saw and Skip, right? It's highly unlikely he's going to move to a back 4. And the only 2 who are going to play is going to be Skip and Saw. So, look, Skip was playing quite well, to be fair, when Conte first came in. So we just have to hope that he can rediscover that form. And he looked pretty good against, I think it was Preston when he came on. He looked pretty good. So, but it's tough, 2 youngsters in the Champions League at the San Siro on Tuesday night.
Do you know what? They've got a chance. And the only reason why I say they've got a chance is you look back at previous performances from ex-footballers. Wilshere had an amazing night at the Nou Camp against Barcelona. You know, and everybody raved about him as being the prodigy for England's midfield for the next 10 years. You know, it might be just one of those games where everything fits and everything comes together. You know, and that's what we've got to hope for as Spurs fans when we play Milan. You know, we're both fucked as regards goalkeepers. I think that the Milan game could be anybody's. To be fair, it's whoever's got the more balls to go forward and attack the goal, I think.
Yeah, Bissouma's out, man. I thought it was just like I thought it was a small injury, but no, it's surgery and simply ace. And
knowing our medical team, it's basically end of the season. That's it.
Oh, just wait. Skip. We know about Skip. Skip was very good the first half of last season, but he's just come off a year layoff pretty much. So, you know, he could be gone. We might be stuck with fucking Sarr and Højbjerg. And I tell you what, you know, Danny K puts, big up Danny K, can't pass. What's the point? I still don't want him in. I'd rather him in centre midfield than centre back. He's not a good centre midfielder, but I don't want him on the last line of the defence. It's as simple as that. We might have to now. We might have to put him in centre midfield because, you know, he played there for a few years and we don't really have much else at the moment. So, yeah, I don't rate Dier in any position. But
Simply ace. Our medical team is just as Spursy as the team.
So, yeah.
No, he's not from Arsenal Fan TV. Why would you think he was? Fuzzy Khan is bottom right from AFTV. Jacob, fucking hell.
Am I from AFC TV?
Yeah, someone called Fuzzy Khan.
Yeah.
Never that.
So, yeah, Jacob, finally, Benny, rest of the season. How'd you judge him this season in general? Well, since he signed for Spurs, how highly do you rate Bentancur?
Yeah, he's been brilliant. Well, obviously Kane's been the player of the season, but he's the one person that when he's in midfield, you have a little bit of hope that one, he's going to try and break the front three and try and score a goal. And he hasn't got a lot of assists, but he's one of those players that assists for the assister. But then, you know, if we had a number 10, he'd have been absolutely perfect. But yeah, he's been brilliant. You know, yesterday when I saw him on the floor, and you could tell it was some sort of ACL. You know, I sat there and had a minute of silence because I just thought, man, our midfield is just going to be absolutely terrible now. Do you know what I mean? Because Højbjerg, I like him, his warrior mentality, but then we all know he has those games where he can't pass. And then he has those games when he can't pass. He spends more time pointing at people than going in the direction that he's pointing at. Sarr and Skip are still young, and if Skip follows his injury problems, then we're pretty much going to have Sarr and Højbjerg with Dier as backup for midfield. It's grim, isn't it? Like, do you know what I mean?
Is that top four level right there? You know, Newcastle got Guimaraes. You know, Man United got Casemiro. We got fucking Dier and Sarr. And look, fair play to Sarr. He's done all right. He started one game though. I think it was against Portsmouth, and he done all right. And he come on against Palace and done all right. Well, I can't remember which way round it was. He started one of them. But
yeah, it's Palace first. Yeah.
Still far too early to talk about Sarr coming in and doing a good job. But you know, we might be forced now. I thought this.
I see a comment from earlier. Someone said about Yaya Toure, like if he's in the coaching stuff, mate, get him a couple of weeks, go and stick him in. You know what I mean?
When Sarr was in France, the Mets, he was playing for Mets. They said, you know, this guy's the next Yaya Toure, believe it or not. So we might already have him there. We might already have the next Yaya Toure there. So
the only similarity between the two of them is that they're big and black, mate. That's it.
I like what you said with Højbjerg. I agree 100%. He's a legend. He is a Viking, but he's limited, and you can see it, especially against the big teams. His passing he actually tries his best. He's quite brave coming out with the ball, but we just know he's limited, absolutely limited.
But what people I think forget about Højbjerg is when it comes to the dirty work, that's what he's best at. That for me is what he's best at. When I see Højbjerg, I don't expect him to be running up to the Man City defence and laying it off for Kane. Yeah. I expect him to be throwing himself into that last-ditch challenge.
He did against
He did it.
Yeah, he did. That's right. You know, and this is for me. Yes, he's limited, but the problem is you need a player like that who's going to pick put in that tackle that might just pick the team up by the scruff of the neck and go, well, if he's got the passion for it, then we need to be able to. And that's why I think that Benny and Højbjerg always work so well. Benny's got the skill to get around 3 players, to get out of defence and hopefully kick on an attack. And Højbjerg's going to knock some prick out. A bit like Romero. You've got Højbjerg and Romero to contend with. I'm not going to lie. If I was a forward, I wouldn't want to face either of those two. And that for me is where Højbjerg proves his worth. The fact that he can't ping a pass, and granted his game's got better moving forward, but because he's not the best going forward, doesn't mean that he's total shit and not good enough for the team.
I think I agree with you. I think what the problem is, most teams, when they've got a Højbjerg or a Conte, someone that just wants to go around and break it up, their instruction is to break up that attack and then just pass it nice and simple to a Maddison, a Christian Eriksen, a De Bruyne. The issue is that Højbjerg gets caught out because he'll do that, and if Bentancur's not available, he'll end up trying to feed it into Kane, who's marked, and then because Kane didn't get to that ball, Højbjerg looks bad for the pass. Whereas if he got to the point where he's doing that and he finds a number 10 between the lines, I reckon he'd be valued a bit more just because he's winning it and just giving it short, which is what he's best at.
What you can do without that number 10, you lose the number 10 with Conte's system, you give it to a wing back. But a wing back's not good enough either.
No, there you go. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's got, as you say, look, we ain't got a centre midfielder to pick the ball up and do great things. Bentancur tries, he tries as well. But the majority of his best football for Juventus was behind the line as well, behind the halfway line. But he certainly has shown some skill further up the pitch, more than any of the centre midfielders. I think Bentancur. The fact that he's either-footed as well, he can get out of trouble. He can ping a ball. He's so key. Bentancur. He's probably the last player other than Kane that we wanted out for this sort of length of time. But it is what it is.
Imagine if Kane gets injured. You just made me think, man. Imagine if he went and got injured.
I'm telling you now.
To be fair, he's due one.
I'm telling you now. Kane's not going to be a fucking Spurs player next season. I'll tell you now, the guy's not going to be a Spurs player.
No, of course he won't. If he is, he's a nutcase.
We're going to be talking about this every fucking week. Not whether he's injured or not. He won't be there. So, what's the plan then?
What are we going to do for podcast if Kane's not playing next season?
Richie.
Fuck me, Tony. We get Tony in, that'll be it. We get... I don't know. I like Ivan Toney, but when we lose Kane, people are going to respect how unbelievable.
You know what? To be fair, Kane getting in Toney to me is like buying Richarlison.
We signed Richarlison as a replacement for Kane. He's the number 9 for Brazil. I'm telling you now, that's why we signed Richarlison. We'll get another striker in the summer as well to back him up. I've got a funny feeling that's why we're going. That's why we spent the £60 million. That's a long way away yet. But imagine Kane out as well. He is literally the passer of the ball, the leader of the team at scoring and passing the ball. It's crazy. But he has only got 1 assist this season. I will say that, Kane. He has only got 1 assist, which is a bit mad.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the issue for Son, because realistically, Kane's not doing that number 10 stuff anymore. I think he's been instructed to, that's why he's got a lot more goals. So it's like all the guys are chipping in to make sure that Harry Kane gets his goals. So then Son's like, what about me?
but Jacob, he's played balls through to Son, and Son's fucked it.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
It's all to say, he's only got 1 assist, but I've been at games where I've seen him play the ball to Son.
No, you are right.
And Son's got into that final third, and he's like a jigsaw. He's like a jigsaw, mate. He goes to.
No, that's true. It's true. That's absolutely true. Yeah. So when I saw the 1 assist, I was a bit surprised. I was like, oh, really? Because his passing's still been there, but the finishing from his teammates hasn't, quite frankly. So,
but to be fair, though, you look at things like yesterday, Perisic came in down the left, decided to shoot instead of squaring, and his shot was fucking nowhere.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Decision making has been poor as well in the final third, whether it be poor player or poor decision making. Sessegnon not good enough to finish in the final third. Perisic is good enough, but in that position yesterday, should have squared it. There was I think Kane was still running in at that point, and Perisic being the player he is, probably could have found him. There just seems to be so many sort of little bits that aren't connected that normally under, and this is again why Poch is revered and called back. The whole squad, regardless how shit Dier is and regardless how good Kane was, there was a connection from back to front. And we are missing those vital little bits. Again, comes down to management, comes down to the squad. I don't know, but there is definitely a misfire somewhere.
Yeah, that Son and Kane connection has just disappeared from last season.
Yeah, Jose
why.
got the best out of those two for me than any manager has.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's now some kind of competition between them. Maybe I don't know. I also wonder, like, is Sonny after that golden boot? Is he like not big-headed, but has it affected him? I don't know.
I'll tell you what, yeah, I've got this in my mind as well. Over the World Cup, I was bored in the World Cup, so I was thinking about things, and I'm like, I reckon Kane has been given the nod to go next season. I think Daniel Levy, gentleman's agreement, similar to Bale and Modric, and Kane may have told Son, like, I don't know, there's a group chat going around or something.
And Son's been disjointed by it.
That's what I told you that a couple of weeks ago, didn't I? That they were in a WhatsApp group.
Oh, look at that. And he tries to pass it off as his own thought.
I was thinking it. I think you stole that off me. I think you stole it off me now.
No, mate. I'm not a thief, mate.
Just because he sits up there in the top left corner, you think, yeah.
If you've done it on one of your rants, if you've done it on one
I was on the wind up. I'm only messing around.
If you've done it on one of your rants on your channel, I'll give you it.
No, I'm only messing about.
Right, big one. Tuesday, AC Milan. Where's the love? Valentine's Day.
The only love, mate, is it's Valentine's Day. That is it.
You know, I'll tell you what, right? AC Milan will be on dire form. I can't remember if it was this week or the week before. Mark showed me a statistic, and, Milan have been really, really bad. But they picked up their first win in 8 on the weekend. They beat Torino 1-0. So they're in very, very poor form. We're going in with a heavy loss, Gareth. I just want to ask this: would a draw be a good result? Because we're away. We're going to the San Siro. Would you take a draw?
Do you know what? I would take a draw. For me, this has got the potential to be a very shit, very, very boring game.
Got Giroud. They've got some big boys up front as well.
Do you know what they have? But irrelevant of that fact, it's got the potential with the form of with the former Milan, with the former Spurs. This has really got the potential to be a really scrappy, really shit Sunday league type game where it ends 0-0 and no one's going to be happy with it. But at the same time, it's also got the potential for one of the two teams to think, do you know what, bollocks, and absolutely smash the other. That for me is a genuine potential for Tuesday night. I just hope that it's Spurs that decide to take the initiative and think, do you know what, defense is crap. We're missing this, we're missing that. Do you know what? Let's just take the leash off and go for it.
I'm looking at the squad, and they've still got a quality squad, Milan. They really do. Giroud, Rafael Leao, left wing, and Theo Hernandez on the same side. Leao and Fernandez on the same side.
Do you know what? I forgot Giroud was there. Watch this, Sod's Law, 0-0, 94th minute. Corner.
That's what I'm saying.
Giroud,
that's what I'm
1-0.
saying.
A totally shit game, and Giroud nicks it from just because he's an ex-Chelsea Arsenal cunt.
But do you know what? That's what we sort of need. We need someone that we can just be ultimately direct with, a striker that can come on and do that for the last 10, 15 minutes. I didn't rate Llorente that much from the start, but having that option off the bench, it did come in handy. I mean, it was
do you think
in us getting to the Champions League final, it was essential for Llorente to do what Llorente did at the end of the game.
Daft question, but do you think with the way that Kane has been utilised, to drop back and everything else over the course of various different managers, that he's lost his ability almost to be the direct forward that he used to be? Yeah, because he doesn't seem as direct as he once was. You look at that amazing goal he scored against Arsenal where he cut him from the left. He just thought, fuck it, picked up the ball and went with it. Whereas now it's dropping back, trying to feed somebody else in rather than going, bollocks, do you know what? I'm the best striker in the world right now, and picking the ball up with 25 yards and rather than looking to play it through the sun or out
That's
wide.
The problem, though, isn't it? We can't go route one because there'll be no one in the box. If we went route one,
but the strike he's got on him, mate, he's proved up until the last couple of seasons. How many times was he smashing it in outside of the box? How many times was he taking that player on, dropping the shoulder, getting past him, and just unleashing a shot, even if it was off the post or save, and maybe a knocking rebound?
Cheers. What's the point? Thanks for this. Wonderful.
What's the point?
I
think that could be Gareth's alter ego. I think that might be Gareth's alter ego.
Mate, I'm vaping. How the fuck? Yeah. Mate, I'm not sat. I'm about to get ready to have my dinner. I ain't sat on the shitter.
But I think so. I think AC Milan's going to be. It's going to be really, really tough. Two struggling teams, you could say. You say it's going to be, you say there's going to be no goals. It'll probably be 4-4, something crazy like that. Two teams that defensively are.
I just feel like it's going to be one of those games where the final third just becomes irrelevant. That with the way that both teams have been playing.
How do you see the game going, Mark? How do you see the game going? Would you take a point away at the San Siro? We remember there's no away goals now. We don't have the away goals rule now.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, especially with the injuries we've got. But I don't know. Maybe I'm too much of an optimist, but I'm hoping we can nick a 1-0. I think just sometimes our team seems to almost get up for these games in a way, and when we play the lesser games like Leicester, we just seem to fall away. So who knows? Maybe somehow we'll pull it out the bag and get a Harry Kane 1-0 win. I'm hoping, but maybe I'm delusional.
Lay off the crack pipe, bro.
Yeah, what's the point? What's the point? I'm delusional. That's the crack pipe. Right, so we're getting a draw against Milan. Look at our team. They're not doing too great themselves, but look, I agree. We're not great, and simply AC Milan, but they still are Serie A champions, and they're still fifth in Serie A. Even as bad as they're still fifth in Serie A.
Your poor 9-year-old.
Right. Jacob. Finally, AC Milan. Before we get to the next topic, I mean, we're nearly at the end of the show now. Please smash the like if you haven't already done so. But yeah, we'll end with Jacob. Just your thoughts on the Milan game.
Yeah. Like I don't know. I mind you, I was saying this just after we beat Man City that I wasn't too worried about AC Milan. Like I said, because I'd seen their form and stuff like that. But then I think it'd be one of those games where both teams will use the Champions League as maybe a little bit of leverage. So, if you're AC Milan, for instance, and you're not doing too well in the league, but then you make the quarterfinals by knocking out Tottenham, all of a sudden that might give your season a boost. And it's the same for us, really. If you get to the point where the way our season's been going and you find yourself in a quarterfinal of the Champions League, and then, I don't know, somehow we knock out Sheffield United as well, the season starts to look a little bit more rosy. And like with Newcastle dropping points, you never know. But, when you look at it, in the grand scheme of things, you forget about the Bentancur injury and stuff like that. So I'd probably agree with you and say a 0-0, but then I wouldn't be as confident as thinking that we're just going to beat them at home just because we're missing such a key player in Bentancur. And there's certain players like Son and Kulusevski that need to step up. So I don't know. I quietly feel confident against AC Milan just because they're on bad form. And if you're an AC Milan fan and you're thinking, oh, here comes Conte, ex-Inter, ex-Juventus, you'd be thinking that's an omen in itself that you're going out. Just the same way we would if, Emery or Arteta left and went to another team in Europe. If we were playing them, you'd think, oh, here we go. So, I don't know. I've got a feeling that we'll go through Milan, but then after that, God knows, I don't know what will happen after that.
I've got with the Milan game. I wouldn't take a draw. I think if it was away goals, I would. But I think that even if we draw, we're going to get beaten at home. I mean, I don't trust us at home. So I think we need to win. I think we need to win. I think we can win. They're not on the greatest form, so we can nick a 1-0 or 2-1 victory there. Take it home and then get into the last.
Well, we're not going to defend the lead regardless, are we? Let's be honest.
So it's going to be I mean, we are better away than we are at home. That's obviously different in Europe. To be honest with you, I don't know how we made it to the last 16 anyway. We were fucking awful. Marseille both games. I don't know how they didn't beat us in both of those games. They absolutely dominated us. But we are there, and Conte finds a way. He just finds a way. I don't know how, but he does. I don't know how he got us into the top 4 last season, but he does. And Romero's back, so maybe he could, give Giroud the odd elbow here and there, and that could help us out. So that's a big one. Getting Romero back is a big one. He knows Italy. Obviously he'll know what AC Milan are about. Conte knows what AC Milan are about. So there are some positives going into it. But to be quite honest with you, we need the rest. We don't really need to be into the last 8 of the Champions League. We're just going to get knocked out anyway. Focus on the FA Cup.
You know what? I was going to say, if you guarantee the FA Cup, then I'd happily take a knockout at this point.
But I'm worried we're going to mess up that Sheffield away tie.
So am I.
That's a tough one.
That is not. I think we're going to go out of the FA Cup if I'm honest.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty convinced we are at some point.
It's the same way we got knocked. Do you know the same way we got knocked out of the Carabao Cup by Nottingham Forest? I get that.
What do you think we're going to lose to Sheffield United? You actually think we're going to lose to Sheffield United?
Yeah, I trust me. We ain't going to go through.
What Levy does to you, that's what Spurs does to you, man. That's what Levy does, Spurs does. Right. Oh, there was something else. I wanted to do, actually. We started doing this on a Sunday. Gareth's you got to bounce in a second.
Yes, mate, I have it. It's dinner time.
Right. One thing I want to ask you. So on a Sunday, we do this. Plank of the week. You got 3 options. You got Eric Dier for being Eric Dier. You got
you don't need to go any further.
Did you see the lanky Chelsea lad? Did you see the lanky Chelsea lad get floored by the West Ham boy?
Oh yeah.
You can have him. You can have Eric Dier. You can have the Chelsea lad getting KO'd, or you can have the statement. This I don't know, the prophet statement. This I don't know if you read it. And because you got to go, we're not going to go through it. But who would you be giving the plank of the week to? Have you got one of your own, Gareth?
Mate, I'll be honest with you. Getting knocked out by Ben Mitchell is, is not to Mark. Ben Mitchell, the old Ben Mitchell, was character on a program called EastEnders. Yeah, but it's a tough one.
He was little, wasn't he? It was like, is that what you're saying? Because he was like,
no, because of the the thick black glasses, the dodgy haircut. Ben Mitchell's. You remember Ben Mitchell from like 3 years ago? It was like, I feel like it's got to be the way for me. It's the Chelsea lad, because he wasn't involved. Then all of a sudden he comes in, gets half a little slap, starts giving it Billy Big Bollocks, and gets knocked out cold, and then wheeled away.
I didn't see that bit.
But came Brian Potter from
his mates were doing the Lloris and Son. Hold me back. There's no one there, and his mates just stood. Like his mates just stood there. Like one of them.
Yeah, and he came in thinking he was a Billy mate. To me, it's that.
That was beautiful. You're 50 years old, mate. Bosh.
Yeah. He got knocked out by this kid with thick black glasses, and he was out. He was knocked out cold. And I even tweeted about it. The face when he was in the wheelchair, like the face you pull when you know you can't go to football again. He is my plank of the week.
All right, we've got Gareth's plank of the week. Enjoy, mate. Enjoy.
Gentlemen, I'll catch you another day.
Take it easy. You've had time to think about this, Jacob. You've had a little bit more time than Gareth. Plank of the week. Eric Dier, being Eric Dier. I'll always put him up there when he plays badly because I fucking hate him. Chelsea lad. Or that statement. I'm gonna put up. I'm not sure if you've seen this, or this is not the actual profit stuff. This is the final part of the statement. During this period, we welcome Conte. When Antonio arrived, we were 8th in the Premier League and in the Conference League. We saw strong additions to the squad and finished the 21-22 season with a run of 10 wins in the last 14 matches and qualified for the Champions League. Heung-Min Son's 2 goals on the final day at Norwich made him join. So this all came with a statement. This all came with a profit statement. So they're trying to big themselves up and how well they've done as an ownership, and then they're talking about the bottom bit is just the World Cup. We face the congested fixture list like every other club in the world. So yeah, who's your plank of the week? Did you read that statement? I don't know. Did you read?
I did read it. I did read it in the bath yesterday. For me, if I'm going to make up a plank, it's the fans that believe that waffle. Because when I saw it, I thought, "Cool, there must be some uproar on Twitter." But funnily enough, on Twitter, Facebook, there was loads of people like, yes, that's what we needed to hear. And I was like, he's literally just summarized what you should have seen as a Spurs fan. Like, literally, when he's saying Son Heung-Min got golden boot, we qualified for the Champions League. It's like, cheers for telling us that, mate. Like, I didn't know that till you told me. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, But this is what I say. There's a problem in the fan base because there'll be a lot of fans that will, Daniel Levy will say something like that and they'll just go, oh, okay, now I understand what he's doing. He's not doing anything but getting money and rinsing us out. It doesn't matter what you write. He could, I don't know, write what he wants. Don't really need to write. Your actions speak louder than your words, mate. So the biggest plank goes to the people that have read that statement and believe it.
Mark, who's your plank? Have you got one of your own?
No, I think for me, I'll go with the statement. I just think the tone was pretty bad, I mean, so like arrogant, dismissive to the fans, like Jacob said. And for me, it's just, it's clear there's just a lack of a coherent plan from the footballing side, there's so much effort and detail that goes into, that went into the stadium, the commercial side of running the club, which is great, but we don't see that real plan on the footballing side. It just feels like everything that happens is so like it's not planned, and it's just there's no like structure and
if there
you know,
is a plan,
reactionary.
if there is a plan, it's a messed up plan just to go youngsters,
Exactly.
youngsters.
Yeah. And
Because
I feel like
we see Spence, we see Saar, we see Gill, £35 million.
yeah,
That's the only plan I see.
yeah,
Buy young for
and
relative
help.
profit in the future, which is
Mhm.
crazy.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And I
crazy.
feel like, I mean, you know, yes, okay, Poch was successful, but for me, I feel like he stumbled upon Poch and we got lucky in terms of how well we did. I don't think it was like something that was clearly thought out. And this is, you know, the players are going to buy that suit you, like to play in this way. And it just, and you know, that's probably the best period we've had in what, 25 years, the 5 years that we had under Poch. And, you know, that wasn't even as a result of great work by our, you know, leadership of the club. So for me, it all links up with that, and that for me was plank of the week.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Dier because just to even it out.
You
Just to even it out. Dyer's my boy.
you always will anyway, mate. Even if we all said Dier, you'd still say Dier.
He's a fucking donkey. He is a donkey. But that letter from Levy, it's complete tosh. It's just taking a piss out of the fan base in every way possible. Yeah, I've got to agree with you two gents. And it's the fans that fall for it as well. It really is the fans that fall for it. And time again, we'll keep a clean sheet. I don't know who we're playing next in the league.
West Ham.
West Ham,
Yes,
of course, West
yeah.
Ham. We got West Ham. We got West Ham next in the league. We keep a clean sheet and win that. People will be saying Dier's the next Franco Baresi, like they will. It's just same shit again and again. And you've got to be consistent with the message, or nothing's going to change. Nothing is going to change. And fan base have got to be ambitious too. We do. We absolutely have to. Social media is powerful, very, very powerful. That's an understanding. It got a fucking US president elected, for Christ's sake. Twitter got a US president elected. It is unbelievably powerful, and I'll stand by that. So yeah, that wraps it up for tonight. Thanks for watching, everybody. At least it's not long till our next game. After getting smashed like we do, at least you know what we've got. It's gone exactly 8 o'clock, so exactly 48 hours. We're going to be playing Milan at the San Siro, and memories of the last one. Gattuso, Joe Jordan, loved it. So you know we have got good memories there. Let's hope we can do the business. So please, before you do go, make sure you subscribe, like, hit the bell, whether you're watching now or on the recording. Really does make a difference. And of course, if you're watching on the recording, get in the comments too, and I'll still try and reply if I can get around to it. So yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. And follow everyone's Twitter handles. Let me get this off. You've got Gareth Mack on Twitter. He's left early. You've got Jacob, the one up top, and you got a YouTube channel as well running.
That's it, yeah. So I'll keep doing that. I posted something up yesterday on the Leicester game. It's all about consistency for me now. So I'll be posting something up tomorrow evening. So it'll be a preview on the Milan game. And I'm just going to keep going to the end of the season because I feel that Tottenham are just going to get worse, and I'm probably better television when Tottenham are crap. So watch out. If you know, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, and if you want to, you know, go on my YouTube channel, I'm trying to get up to about 200 subscribers now. So I'm on 154, I think. So if you can, you know, like that channel, share, subscribe, and if you do subscribe, hit the bell, just like Tommy asks for you now.
And it's free. It's completely free. And as Jacob said, look, follow his Twitter there. Follow my Twitter. Follow Mark's Twitter. You can find pretty much what everyone's getting on with on their Twitter handle. So make sure you do that.
Cool.
Mark, you got anything coming up, man? Because I know you do a bit of YouTubing yourself too.
Yeah, mainly on Twitter at Mark_Andrew_Jan. YouTube, I'm mainly guesting. You know, I mean, your show, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. Mainly on Twitter, you'll find me.
Relatively new guest, Mark, but becoming a regular now. And this is what happens. You become a regular. You go around the community, then you set up your own YouTube channel, and it just it goes from there. It facilitates from there. So make sure you get over to Mark. Follow all of us on Twitter. Yeah, so that'll wrap things up for tonight. Stay safe, stay free, and stay classy, Lily Whites. Bon voyage, and as always, lean it out. And it's lean.